Welkom bij KSP Interstellar Quest. Een career playthrough of Beyond Worlds or Promised Worlds. And of course it's playing homage to Scot Manley's amazing series that originally got me into KSP. It's been a while since I've played stock KSP, but it's nice to be back and actually explore what the basic game can do. I've been playing RSS Oro for a long time, and the simplicity of the original game, plus the loading times, which have vastly improved, is a breeze. We're going to try something I've never done before, which is going interstellar. And to do that, we're starting off with Matchstick A1. It's the start of the science tree. It's a very simple, solid rocket-fueled engine. It's powered by ammonium perchlorate. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And the model is from Knes, and Knes is a Frenchman, so I presume that this is based on Diamant series of rocket from France back in the 60s. They developed this rocket fuel called isolane, which is a combination of ammonia, so a metal, combined with the chloride, which actually, it's a very powerful fuel, and we can get up to almost 100 kilometers. But you'll see we have a trick up our sleeve. By using the power of the decoupler, we actually blast past the 100 kilometer line. On board we've got a thermometer, as is normal in KSP, so we're super interested in what the temperature is in space and all over the place, like the KSC, for example. That's a great place to get some science. And we have the magic goo canister, which I presume is kerbal food. And we're already on our way back down. We've mounted a parachute. We are trying to recover this science, this bounty of science, because we will need a ton of science. I've been looking at the tech tree, and we've added a ton of mods, and we're going to play with far future technology, so we're going to need a ton of science to get to that part of the tech tree and actually get to spacecraft that can go interstellar. I've also installed a ton of visual mocks. You're now looking at parallax, which is just amazing. Look at that. But a couple of days later, we're launching the second version, Matchstick A2, and for those of you who are good observers have already noticed the difference. Like Matchstick A2 has a second stage. Yes, and the second stage is it's a second stage, so it's a smaller version of the first stage. Same type of engine, same type of fuel, same type of efficiency. You see me attempting a gravity turn. So I tried to launch stuff with MacJeb, but I figured that that's probably difficult with solid rocket engine. And here you can see me rediscovering atmospheric effects in KSP. Yeah, so if the center of lift is to the front of the rocket and the mass is behind it, it will always flip. No amount of RCS is going to fix that. But we recovered, but we're not going to make orbit on this flight. We were already very tight on delta V in this craft. We're picking up some re-entry heating using the Firefly mod, which looks amazing and very scary. So in RSSO you would have been crisp. I'm using the retro rockets to slow us down a bit before we land in the oceans of Kerbin. Originally the idea was to get to orbit and then use the retro engines to slow us down and bring us back. Yeah, that's going to be something for another attempt, because this one's not working. I don't know what happened to number 3, by the way. I think I tried once more but then lost the footage of that. Matchstick B4, the B being the second major variant, has an additional stage. So it is now a 3-stage rocket, and you can see the rocket tapers out on the bottom. The diameter of the rocket is about half a meter. I think it's 0.634, and the part on the bottom is 1.25 meters. So not huge, not a huge rocket, more an ICBM type of missile. But this first stage, this is going to give us enough power to go to roughly 12 kilometers, and then the second stage kicks in and comfortably lifts us to an altitude that we like. So it's going up to about 88 kilometers. And we won't need the fins that I added to the first stage. Based on all the flipping stuff, I thought, well, why not add some more fins? But it's proved not to be necessary. You see me already leveling out. And we're slowly gliding towards our apogee, or I should probably say apoapsis, or apokerbal, like the highest point in our orbit. The first stage has a 50 seconds burn time, so 25 seconds before we reach the apogee. We ignite the engine, and it turned out we had way too much delta V, so I also used a bit to change the inclination. But here we are in orbit, launching our first satellite, and already leaving a ton of debris. Next up is Matchstick B5, and what is the next thing to do once you have achieved this capability of actually bringing stuff to orbit? Yeah, so maybe getting rid of stray cats? I don't know. I don't know what the French thought, but back in 1963 they actually launched a cat to space, which is kind of funny because or I should say ironic, because the successor of KSP is probably going to be called Kitten Space Program. And here we are, years before they will actually publicly launch their project. Well, maybe not years, hopefully not years. But a long time before that will happen, we are putting our first cat in orbit. And I seem to screwed up my footage somewhere, so we have a bit of a repeat here. And you can see me flip the rocket at the last moment. I had way too much delta V and I thought, wow, change the inclination and then hang on. Why not use it to lower the highest point in our orbit a little bit, bring it a little bit down. So, the lowest point in our orbit is now barely in orbit, something like 75, 78 kilometers, which gives us a fair chance of actually bringing us back. So when we're on the far end of the planet, we send up our retro rockets, which caused a horrible spin. Poor old Feliciette is probably very, very dizzy by now. Regardless, she survived, as she did in the original flight, despite coming down quite hard in the Algerian desert. But it will have to wait. We enjoy the sunrise and the re-entry effect. This would have definitely destroyed my craft in realism overhauled. But it's not KSP, this is just fine. We're also trying out a couple of new parachutes. So you can see the little blue parachute, which is the default parachute. But I thought, why not use this glider parachute and see if I have a form of control. I was hoping I could glide my craft to some interesting spots, but yeah, that didn't work out that way. Next up, Matchstick B6 Viking A1. So we've replaced the fairing with a different kind of payload. So on top is the Viking A1. It is a capsule designed by KSP. Very, very tiny capsule. Oops. This is what people call hot staging. You stage the second stage while the first one is still attached. Don't do that at home. Turned out we were not going to use the third stage. It would put us way too high. So this is already 120 kilometers up. And we're just testing the capsule, looking at re-entry effects, looking at speeds that it can handle, at the heat, whether the parachutes actually work. Deploying the parachutes, I probably should have put that in a staging group, but then again, there's so many things you should do. Which brings us to Matchstick B7 and the second flight of the Viking. This time, Jeremy Kerman is on board. Yes, I kept the original names, but we are using human stuff, which is a mod to give some different textures to the kerbals. And you can see me collect all the science and crew reports. But apparently, Jebediah loves to look at the Kerbal Space Center from this high up. It's not really a pale blue dot kind of image. It's more a, large blue curve, something like that. Probably he is enjoying the clouds. The clouds which have been made by BlackRack and the Scatterer mod. He has a Patreon page where you can support him and then get access to this amazing mod, which among other things does stuff like rain. Yeah, imagine going to space, being the first guy that goes to space, finally getting back, getting out of your capsule, only to end up in a thunderstorm. But he made it, and he's safely back on Kerbal, trying to get his bearings, wondering what he should do in the rain. Probably take off his helmet. And this is where I salute you. I wish you all the best.